everybody, and welcome! One of the most frustrating things when it comes to dealing with corporations like Take-Two, you know, the one that messed up the Kerbal Space Program franchise, are non-disclosure agreements, NDA for short. Basically, those are legal documents designed to restrict the flow of information to the benefit of actually only one of the parties involved, the corporation. Today I'm going to tell you about an NDA that Take-Two wanted me to sign, which I refused. Because if I had signed it, it basically would have meant I wasn't allowed to say anything bad about a company or their products, which of course included Kerbal Space Program 2 at the time, which deserved a lot of criticism. Part of what I'm trying to do here on this channel is shining a light on the almost clandestine development of KSP2 and try to break the wall of secrecy that surrounded it. I already did a very in-depth video on the history of the ill-fated game a while back, link is on top and the description. I did a more focused one on the unfinished multiplayer mode for KSP2, and I have something about the Kerbal franchise lined up I cannot talk about yet, but it's going to be very interesting. So make sure you are subscribed to this channel so you won't miss it when it comes out. Also, we're now very close to reaching the 100,000 subscriber milestone, and I hope to celebrate the occasion with all of you soon. Now, back to that NDA. If you have been following the development of the Kerbal games, you might remember that content creators like myself often posted previews of new updates right on release day. The developers usually gave us early access to a build of the upcoming features and asked us to keep it secret. Sometimes NDAs were involved, but usually it was very light stuff, pretty straightforward. However, it was a bit different with KSP2. The game first released into early access in February 2023, and the next so-called content update, which finally integrated science experiments into the game, came out in December of the same year. In the lead-up to that launch, the developers had something in place called the Pioneers program. Basically, they would give access to unreleased builds of the game to select people and ask them for feedback so they could better tweak things before releasing the update for the general public. I was offered access to this Pioneers program, but only if I signed an NDA. First I thought, sure, no big deal. Then I saw the actual document that they wanted me to sign and, well, I had some objections. First, aside from Take-Two Interactive Software Inc., there was nothing to identify the other party of this legal document. I was to sign with my full name and address, but there was no information in that document for legal contact in case of issues stemming from the agreement. What if I wanted to dispute it? Where would I have to direct that? Already we have an immediate imbalance. Alright, it says so in the first paragraph. The agreement is for the benefit of Take-Two. Silly me. That alone wouldn't have been a deal breaker yet. But it goes on. The first clause concerns confidential information provided by the publisher, Take-Two, to the participant, me. It's pretty wordy, but there is nothing too objectionable in there. Except for one thing. In case I had to disclose confidential information due to a court order or other legal reason, this agreement would have required me to first consult with Take-Two and try to prevent the disclosure together with them, basically helping their legal team appeal the court order. Nothing I would have looked forward to, but still not reason enough to reject this NDA outright. The next two clauses are not noteworthy, but then it gets interesting. Section 4, Feedback and Recordings. It would have granted Take-Two any and all rights to feedback I would provide on the game and any recordings made of my feedback. So if I had gone on a call with them and showed them what I thought was wrong with KSP2, then they would have been able to record all of it without any compensation for myself. The idea of clauses like these is to make sure that there is no copyright dispute. However, what about recordings I make for myself? What if I record parts of the game in the lead-up for a future preview video? The way this clause was phrased left no wiggle room for that. Already, this so-called agreement was turning problematic. But this is just a layup to much more severe things. Clause 5. Non-disparagement. Let me just read it for you. I agree that I shall not at any time directly or indirectly disparage the publisher. Okay, so what do they mean with disparage? According to the NDA, disparage shall include making or publishing any statement or other content, whether written or electronic, digital or other form, truthful or otherwise, which may reasonably be expected to adversely affect the business, public image, reputation or goodwill of the publisher. But not just the publisher, it also includes employees and its past, present or future products or services. And the clause goes on to forbid making such statements on social media platforms, explicitly naming YouTube. So what could be seen as something that would be reasonably expected to adversely affect Take-Two or any of its employees and past, present or future products? If I make a video saying KSP2 is a bad game and I have a large enough following, a court could come to the conclusion that this could adversely affect the product of the publisher. No creator, reviewer or journalist in their right mind should ever sign any clause in any contract that has a non-disparagement agreement in it that is so broadly worded. And I said as much to my contact at Take-Two. Here's a quote from my reply to them. I will not sign anything that contains Clause 5, non-disparagement. It is written in such an all-encompassing manner that signing the document would prohibit me from uttering any criticism directed towards T2, PD being private division, or the game, effectively preventing me from acting as media and providing objective insights into KSP2 or the dealing of its publishers. We get to their reaction later because I had more objections, especially to the next clause, because in it would have granted Take-Two the right to use, edit, modify, distribute and exploit for any purpose in connection with its business in any and all media now known or hereafter developed, the feedback, recordings and or my likeness, image, voice, statements, actions, characteristics and other identifiable attributes captured in the recordings or otherwise. And if that was not enough, I acknowledge and agree that I have no right to inspect or approve any matter or material, and also the publisher shall have sole and exclusive ownership of all results and proceeds. Let me give you an example of what could have happened thanks to this clause. I go on a call with the developers. I tell them, hey, some parts of this updates are crap, but that one thing you included is great, it really elevates the game. They record it. They create a fancy launch trailer for their new update. They include the positive soundbite from my feedback into their trailer to give it credibility, because I am a creator known for his work on KSP and KSP2. And I would have no say whatsoever in the matter, because thanks to this document, I would have signed all my rights away as per Clause 8. Forever. Because in the final clause, it states that what I grant Take-Two would have been perpetual, irrevocable, unlimited, fully paid up, royalty-free and worldwide. Basically, this business offer would have given me maybe a few weeks preview access to KSP2 builds before they became public, but it would have irreparably damaged my ability to report on the game or provide criticism of it or the publisher. As for Take-Two's reaction to my concerns, the NDA is the NDA. All of Take-Two uses it. You know, there is something called freedom of contract. If you hand me a contract, that contract is to be treated as a draft, because a contract by definition is a mutual agreement, not something one party imposes on the other. That's why it's called contract negotiations. If you come to me with words like boilerplate or blanket statement, it comes across as lazy, because it just means you are unwilling to accommodate the other party in any way. Which also tells me how little respect you have for me. So why should I get into any dealings with you? This applies to any contract or company, by the way, not just Take-Two. In my line of work, I have dealt with corporations much bigger than Take-Two, and even they were willing to bend to reach an agreement both parties could live with. There is always wiggle room, unless, of course, you are lazy. With all the negative things I highlighted about this so-called agreement, let me make one thing clear. I do not believe that whoever wrote that document did so maliciously. I do not believe that Take-Two intended to use my likeness in their promotional material, but it would have made it possible. And that is enough for me to refuse it. These types of NDA always try to maximize the benefit of the entity that sets them up. Something to think about. If this is how Take-Two deals with supposedly respected community members for just fractions of access, how bad must the NDAs be that they forced onto their employees with full access to everything surrounding their game's development? In his first public message since the closure of Studio Intercept Games, now former creative director for KSP2 Nate Simpson mentioned that he is still under strict NDA. When I did my research for the development history video, many people did not want to talk to me out of fear of breaching their NDAs and Take-Two's lawyers breathing down their necks the next day. Because even in this NDA for playtesting KSP2, there is some paragraph claiming that breach of the agreement would cause irreparable harm or injury to the publisher and that monetary damages would not be an adequate remedy. So, what would be an adequate remedy if money doesn't cut it? A pound of flesh? They even put that into the document twice. This was just one of the many times in my life when I said no to an offer, either because I found it morally objectionable or because it did not feel right to me for other reasons. I probably lost out on some money because of that, but I sleep very well at night. If you want to compensate a bit of me losing out on money because you think that what I do on this channel deserves your support, you can do so over on Patreon. Members from the second tier onwards can watch all my videos ad-free as soon as they are available on YouTube. Members in the highest tier get a few days early access before general availability. And they, as well as those a tier below that, will show up here together with people who support me via YouTube memberships. As always, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Now, before we close this, I want to put the question to you. Would you have signed this NDA waiving a lot of your rights for the chance to get a preview build of KSP2? What was the craziest NDA or contract you were ever asked to sign? Were you able to negotiate a better deal or did you walk away? I'm interested in your stories, let me know them in the comments below. Or you can join me to chat about this on my Discord server, link is in the description. KSP2 might be dead, but there is still some interesting stuff to find out about what was going on behind the scenes. And I hope you will join me again when we will look at that.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel for more and follow me on my social thingies. The links are in the description. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.